Hey everyone, we're getting really close to more people getting their hands on the HDZero Goggle. In fact, I've seen a few beta testers already unbox them and be super excited and start playing around. And with that, they're all asking questions about what kind of accessories do I recommend to go with the goggle. So I've come up with a list of all the things that I personally use on my goggle that I think that you'll like to use. I'm going to start off with, I think, the most controversial thing. What antennas do I recommend? I think that most people are overthinking antennas. Most of the time, you're going to be really happy with some high quality stubby antennas that you leave installed on the goggle and you don't have to take off. I found putting on high gain antennas and getting really creative with antennas sometimes is just counterproductive. Just getting some nice True RC stubby antennas or Luminar Axi 2 stubby antennas is what I recommend. I don't recommend getting cheap stubby antennas though, because they don't have an even gain pattern like the nice high quality ones do. So that's what I recommend. And then when I need better like signal behind myself, I take this 4-inch SMA extension. So I take this 4-inch SMA extension and I just elevate the stubby and I get it up in the air higher. So this is I think a $3 or $4 extension that I got from Race Day Quads, and that's what I use when I need to get a little bit better reception, especially when flying behind myself. So now if I'm going to be flying out further, that's where you definitely want a patch antenna. And the ones that I've got are these X2 Airs. You can't actually buy these directly for the goggle. If you want to buy a set that's sold for the goggle ready to go, Hugo at True RC does sell the single X Air instead of the double that I've got here, and that just has this rail mechanism where you can then slide it on like that onto the goggle. Nice mechanism, and then we just tighten it down with this nut print that is available on Thingiverse, and also comes with the True RC kit. So that goes on pretty quick, and that's what I recommend using when you got to go further. You got to penetrate through a specific object. So like this would be my maximum signal setup, where I've got my omnis elevated above my head, and I've got these patch antennas, high gain patch antennas. And then of course the other thing you want to do is make sure you're not drooping down and looking down at the ground while you're flying with a setup like this. Bear in mind, you're actually going to get worse performance typically in a racing environment running high gain patch antennas. That's because people will come close to your goggle, and then you'll be flying further away, further back, and having really high gain antennas can be bad because your receiver can get overwhelmed. This is the same issue that we have on analog. So if you're strictly racing, I highly recommend just sticking with the Omni antennas, and to get a little bit better performance, you can elevate them further away from your head. So if you want to run patch antenna on the front and you have an issue with drooping your head down, you can get this ball joint 3D print on Thingiverse, and then that will let you angle these patch antennas whichever way you want. So look for that in the description of this video. So all that said about how I recommend using stubbies most of the time, yeah, that's because that's how I tend to fly. I'm flying close to myself. A general purpose set that I'd recommend would be the single patch X Air Mark II, I believe it is, and True RC does have a specific kit that they sell that's the patch with the stubby, and I think that's a great one to pick up, and it will perform very well. But if you find yourself flying really close range, just flying around yourself in your backyard, or racing, just consider running all Omnis. Also, sometimes, I don't know why, but it can be better to mix left and right hand antennas on the receivers, and I can't explain exactly why. It's just I've noticed sometimes that can help. But in general, it doesn't help, and don't do it. So a really cool thing about having HDMI output on the goggle, as well as input, but I believe this is the output here, and then this is the input. The cool thing about having HDMI output is that we can go and grab a really cheap $20 HDMI Capture device off Amazon and have a quick way to view your goggle screen in something like a phone or a PC in a live view. And also, of course, you can plug it into a TV. But using this out in the field, you can use your phone as a portable monitor for spectators. What we need to do then is get a thin, lightweight HDMI cable. This one's a ribbon cable. In the description of the video, I actually have a nice thin right angle HDMI cable that I'm going to get and try that out. And that's got the mini HDMI on one end and then a full-size HDMI on the other, and that's what you need to make this work. So just to quick show you, we're going to plug this in right here. And then that's a right angle, so it's going to come out the back, and then we take the HDMI USB and then plug that in to the other end, and then we plug this USB-C into my phone. And then on my phone I use a USB was it UVC, so a UVC video player will play the video stream out of here, and it works for all of the different resolutions and frame rates that I've tested so far. So I've put a link in the video description to this inexpensive USB capture device. Go ahead, look there, and you'll find everything you need. Now for power, the goggle comes with a nice XT60 to right angle barrel jack adapter, and it'll plug in right here just like any goggle that we have today. Now if you want to get a little more creative and power the goggle in a different way, I like to power things through a USB-C cable. So this is what's called a USB-C PD trigger. It will take a USB-C charger for like a laptop or a power bank, and it will just output DC voltage. So all of the voltage ranges that USB power delivery puts out are safe to plug into here. So I can just plug it straight into here, and then I can power up my goggle off of my phone charger or a wall charger I've got at my desk. So this has been great. It just kind of simplifies things. If I don't have a battery charged at the time, I can just plug it in to any of the USB-Cs that I have laying around. Also, even my charger, my 533 charger, has a USB-C output on it. So if I'm sitting next to my charger while I'm flying, I can just plug my goggle into my charger, and then I don't have any issues with power. So check the video description for that. There's a couple options in there. The cable one that I showed you, and then a nice, really compact right angle one. So I've got that on order, and I'm going to try it out. But aside from doing something fancy like a USB-C power delivery trigger device, the other option is to put a battery into the battery kind of holder here in the head strap. This can accept a very large battery. I've actually crammed a 2200 3S into here, and it works well. I should point out, don't expect to plug in like an 18650 battery case that you might have for Fatshark goggles. I don't think it's going to have enough power or current capability to run the goggle all the way down to into the lower voltages on that battery pack. So you're going to be looking at getting a little bit beefier battery pack, one that's designed for a digital goggle. So I've got an example of that in my list here. If you look it up, there's an Owline 7.4 volt, 4800 milliamp hour pack that I'm going to pick that one up and try it. It's only 20 bucks. And what's nice is then everything is on your head and you don't have a cable dangling down and it can get caught on things. So I think that'll have the current capacity that I need and the right end on it and everything. So I'm going to pick that up and try it out. So as for a carrying case for the goggle, it does come with this really nice bag. It's kind of thick and it's got this velour on it. I have a pouch on my FPV bag that has a dedicated spot just for the goggles, so this works well. I drop the goggle in there, I leave all the antennas on, I leave the analog module on, I leave everything on, and this kind of protects it a little bit. So I like this case. Now, if you must have a hard case, I have found that this hard case for ski goggles does work. It's available on Amazon, and let's open it up here and fit the goggle in and see how it looks. So it is a very rigid hard case. This is much more rigid than I've found with any FPV goggle case I've ever had come with a goggle. And then I can drop this in here and you can see it fits. And I've also gotten this to fit with some of the antennas on. So let me show you. I'll put it on with the patch antennas. So here it is with the patch antennas installed. So I can still drop this in here. It's a tighter fit, of course. Let me just pop it in. That is an uncomfortably tight fit, but it does technically fit, and I do think it would fit better with the single X-Air Mark II instead of the X2 Air. But you can see I've got it in there, and yeah, it did fit. It's a little tight on the SMAs right here in the corners, but yeah, everything fits. And then you can fit like an analog module up here in that space, or some antennas. You can leave stubbies on top right here, and that still does work. So close it up. You can see everything fits. All right, analog module. I have tested the Rapid Fire and the TBS Fusion. So here's the TBS Fusion. Just snaps in there. And you can use the same antennas that you use on the SMA jacks for HDZero with the analog, because they're both SMA instead of like an RP SMA like you'd have with DJI. So it just snaps right on there. I think the TBS Fusion is the best like form-fitting module. It doesn't like have as much curviness to the included faceplate. And I think it's $120 versus $160 for the Rapid Fire. So I think the TBS Fusion performs well enough that I would recommend that over a Rapid Fire, unless you definitely want a Rapid Fire. I have tested a little bit with like a less sophisticated, more marginal analog system, and it didn't hold the image quite as well. There's more image rolling. I also found that on the Fusion, I had to keep it in the like the Fusion mode. If I put it in the Legacy mode, it didn't perform as well on the goggle. And then on the Rapid Fire, I found I had to keep it in the Mode 1 mode, which is what's recommended in the manual. Going over to Mode 2 on the Rapid Fire, the goggle can lose sync lock. So just keep it in mind. I think you're going to want a module that's got some like fusing capability and some retiming capability to get the best experience. But yeah, if you just want to like get a cheap analog module for spectating others, you know, go ahead, right? All right, let's talk audio. The goggle has a lot of input, output. It supports an inline mic, or sorry, an installed mic that is built in, but it also has the ability to do a line-in mic, and that's what a lot of my DVR video is. So I've got this high quality, I think it's pronounced Boya mic, link in the description. on Amazon, and it's got this nice windsock on it, and then it can tilt to different angles. So let me install it, and then you can see how that looks. So it's going to plug into this jack right here. I'll plug it in. And what's cool about the mic is you can kind of rotate it around as needed. So if you want to like get more of a pit area, you could point it out. Let's point this. You can point it out in this direction. If you want to go like that, you can point it out that direction. If you want to like get it so it's more doing a dialogue of you could angle it down like that, and then it's kind of set up like a mic that you might have on a boom. So yeah, I can wear it here, you can see. So I've got this here, and then I can kind of reposition it, and it gave really good audio. The key thing that you have to do when you're picking a mic is not every one of them will work. What you need is a mic that has 4 segments on it. It's called a TRRS, or tip, ring, sleeve. Follows the, I think it's called the CTIA standard, which basically means it's the standard that an Apple headphone follows. It's the standard that all manufacturers in the United States and Europe follow. It doesn't work with microphone, let's say, that has the pinout used in China. But the rest of the world, if you get a 4-ring, like a 4-segment TRRS mic, it will work. The right pinout to use. The other thing that works is the OG, let's call it, Apple headphones. So again, this is a TRRS, tip, ring, sleeve. And then this also gives you audio and an inline microphone. So plug that in, you'll get audio and inline mic in one jack. I used to fly a lot with audio, live audio from the quad with analog quads, and I do have this Mr. Steel Ethics earbud, and I do have confirmed it does plug in here, and it just works. And it's a good volume. I do recommend it. So I've got a link to that in the description. Also, if you want to do live audio with HDZero, there is a pretty cool, clever workaround. I'll put out a video about this later, but you can actually mix video sources and audio sources with this goggle. So you can have an analog sound transmitter. So take an analog video transmitter and then put a mic on it, and then just don't put a camera on it. And the rich wave chipset actually still transmits the audio. So this will pick it up, and instead of getting video, we'll get the audio. And then you switch the source back over to HDZero, and we'll still continue to get audio from the analog video transmitter, and that'll come out the earbud here, and I'll have video from HDZero in the video feed. And it's a really cool combination. It's been really cool to have that old analog audio, live audio with no latency, mixed with the no latency of HDZero. Pretty cool stuff.